What if I told you the truth behind the construction of the Egyptian pyramids is far more incredible than anything you've ever heard? Slaves? Aliens? Advanced technology? For years, we've been told these ancient wonders were built by primitive, ill-equipped people, but what if we were wrong? In this video, we're going to uncover the real story, and trust me, it's even more mind-blowing than the myths. This is the untold story of the greatest engineering feat of all time. Are you ready? The ancient mysteries, what we think we know versus what's really true. The Egyptian pyramids have been a source of fascination for thousands of years. These enormous stone structures continue to leave people in awe. But for centuries, the question has lingered: how did the Egyptians build them? For a long time, historians and archaeologists believed that the pyramids were constructed by thousands of slaves forced to toil away under the hot sun to build these immense monuments. This idea was so deeply ingrained in popular culture that even movies like The Ten Commandments and The Prince of Egypt solidified this image of angry slaves dragging massive blocks. But as we dig deeper into the true history of the pyramids, we begin to uncover a very different picture. Slaves? Not quite. Aliens? No evidence. So, who really built these monumental structures? Let's explore what the ancient texts, archaeological finds, and groundbreaking research are showing us about the real story behind the construction of the pyramids. Who really built the pyramids? Skilled laborers, not slaves. Let's bust the first myth wide open. Slaves did not build the pyramids. In the 1990s, archaeologists made an incredible discovery: a hidden workers' village near the pyramids at Giza. This was no ordinary settlement. What they found were the remains of well-fed workers, skilled laborers who lived comfortably and were highly respected for their knowledge and expertise. These workers were not slaves forced into labor. They were craftsmen, masons, engineers, and architects who likely volunteered or were hired for their talents. The idea that they were slaves was based on inaccurate interpretations of ancient texts, which we now know were misread. Imagine this: thousands of highly skilled professionals, not much different from how we view engineers or construction workers today, coming together to build something truly extraordinary. These people worked in shifts and were organized into teams based on their specialized skills. They didn't live in squalor; instead, they had well-built houses and were provided with food and other amenities. In fact, their tombs, discovered by archaeologists, show no signs of mistreatment. Instead, these workers were honored in their death, with tombs and grave markers indicating the respect they earned from the pharaohs they worked for. This discovery challenges the traditional view and shows that the pyramids were not built through force, but through the hard work and dedication of skilled laborers who were essential to the project's success. The materials: where did they get those massive stones? The next question is, how did they transport all those heavy stones? The Great Pyramid, for instance, is made up of 2.3 million blocks of stone, and each of those blocks weighs between 2.5 and 15 tons. But the mystery doesn't stop there. Not all of the stones came from the local quarries. Some were sourced from over 800 kilometers, about 500 miles away, in a place called Aswan. These massive granite blocks were used for the internal chambers of the pyramid, and transporting them over such a long distance was no small feat. So, how did they manage to move these massive stones from one place to another? The answer is a combination of clever engineering and sheer human ingenuity. First off, the Egyptians didn't have cranes or modern machinery. Instead, they used sledges, large wooden sleds that could carry massive blocks. But moving these sleds across the desert wasn't as simple as it sounds. The sand, while soft, made it difficult to drag these heavy stones. Here's where it gets interesting. Recent research suggests that the Egyptians likely wet the sand in front of the sleds. This would reduce friction and make it easier to drag the stones across the surface. Think about that for a moment. The ancient Egyptians figured out how to manipulate sand and water to make transporting massive stones easier. But how did they move the stones up the pyramid itself? That's where the ramps come in. For years, people have wondered what type of ramps the Egyptians used. Well, we don't have a single definitive answer, but the most likely theory is a combination of ramps, straight ramps, zigzagging ramps, and spiral ramps that spiraled around the pyramid as it was built higher and higher. Recent studies suggest that the Egyptians used multi-stage ramps, which allowed them to lift blocks gradually as the pyramid grew taller. These ramps were built alongside the pyramid, and as the pyramid rose, the ramps could be restructured to match the new height. The logistics of moving and lifting these blocks are mind-blowing, especially considering the limited tools the Egyptians had. But these were not ordinary builders, these were masters of engineering, geometry, and physics. The great design. How did they achieve such precision? One of the most amazing aspects of the pyramids is the precision with which they were constructed. The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions north, south, east, and west. How did they achieve this level of accuracy without modern technology? The answer lies in their knowledge of the stars. The ancient Egyptians were master astronomers, and they used the stars as a guide to align their structures. They likely used a technique involving the stars' positions in the sky to ensure the pyramid was perfectly aligned. But the precision didn't stop there. The stones themselves fit together with such tightness that even a single piece of paper cannot fit between them. The Great Pyramid was originally covered in smooth limestone casing that reflected the sunlight, making it shine like a jewel under the sun. This would have been visible for miles around, casting a golden glow that marked the tomb of the most powerful pharaohs in Egypt. But how did the Egyptians achieve such detailed craftsmanship? It's not magic or alien technology, it was their understanding of mathematics. They had mastered geometry and had systems of measurement that allowed them to construct the pyramid with almost unbelievable precision. The role of the pharaohs. Why build something so monumental? The pyramids weren't just tombs. They were statements of power and eternity. The pharaohs believed in the afterlife, and they needed tombs that were not only safe but also grand enough to reflect their divine status. The size and scale of the pyramids were meant to ensure that the pharaoh would be preserved for eternity. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu, was a statement of his power. It was not just a tomb, it was his gateway to the afterlife, a place where he would be honored by the gods and live on forever. But building a monument like this was no easy task. The pharaohs needed to bring together skilled laborers, resources, and years of planning. The construction of the pyramid was a massive undertaking that spanned decades, and it took the combined effort of tens of thousands of workers. The pharaohs knew this would require immense resources, and they spared no expense in ensuring the project was completed to perfection. The secret of the pyramids. What we don't know. Despite all the progress we've made in understanding how the pyramids were built, there are still many unanswered questions. The exact design of the ramps used to move the blocks, for instance, is still debated. And while we know how they moved the stones, we're still unsure about the methods they used to lift those massive blocks to the top. Also, how did they transport the materials over 800 kilometers without modern vehicles or machinery? The answer could lie in the use of large boats to carry the stones along the Nile River, but we still don't know for certain. The precision with which they aligned the pyramids with the stars remains one of the greatest mysteries. Did they have some form of ancient navigational tools? Or did they rely purely on the natural movements of the stars? These are the questions that continue to intrigue archaeologists and historians to this day. The legacy of the pyramids. Human ingenuity at its best. So, what is the truth about how the pyramids were built? It wasn't slaves, it was skilled laborers working together with expertise and precision. It wasn't aliens, it was the brilliance of ancient Egyptians who understood geometry, engineering, and astronomy. And it wasn't magic, it was a massive human endeavor that required years of dedication, knowledge, and teamwork. The pyramids stand as monuments to what humanity can achieve when we push the boundaries of our understanding and work together toward a common goal. These ancient wonders aren't just stone and dust, they are proof of the extraordinary things we can do when we believe in our potential. So the next time you look at the Great Pyramid of Giza, remember this: it wasn't built by slaves or aliens. It was built by human genius, and that's something we can all aspire to. If you're fascinated by the mysteries of the pyramids, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with others. What other historical mysteries do you want me to break down? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching. Remember, the truth is out there, and it's always waiting to be uncovered.